Let everything loosen: your breath, your thoughts, even the shape of the day. The world can rest for a while. For now, there's only this quiet space between heartbeats. What if the universe has never been outside you, but softly watching itself through the stillness of your eyes? What if every star is just a reflection of the same light that lives behind your gaze? What if time itself is only the eye of God breathing, opening, and closing within your sleep? These aren't questions to solve. They are quiet truths whispered by light resting inside your mind. Where are you listening from tonight? A dim room, a calm night, a sky that hums behind the curtains? If this stillness finds you and you enjoy gentle stories that drift between thought and silence, stay for a while. Maybe follow along. Leave a soft like or a quiet trace so this small corner of the cosmos knows you were here. Now close your eyes. Let's begin where the light turns quiet. Now the quiet deepens. The distance between thoughts grows softer, wider, like a tide drawing away from shore. You drift where silence gathers into the place before beginnings, where the first secret waits the moment when the eye of God opened and light learned how to be alone. Before there were forms, there was only awareness, a vast stillness without name or edge. It did not move because there was nothing to move through. It did not shine because there was nothing yet to see. It simply was weightless, endless, unmeasured. But within that stillness, something began to tremble. Awareness felt itself. It turned gently toward its own presence, and in that quiet turn, light was born. You could imagine it not as brightness, but as a soft stirring, a shimmer spreading through the void like breath. The darkness did not vanish. It remained, holding the newborn glow, as a mother holds her first child. There was no sound, no explosion, no beginning marked in fire. The light unfolded silently, as if existence had exhaled for the first time. Light was not the result of matter colliding. It was the first movement of consciousness recognizing itself. The universe did not begin with force, but with awareness. Reality started not with a bang, but with a gaze. In that single act of knowing, the infinite became visible. The eye of God saw, and by seeing it, created what was seen. You might call that gaze the oldest law. To see is to bring forth. To be aware is to make real. What you call light is only awareness wearing form. Every ray, every particle is a thought stretched thin across emptiness. When you touch sunlight on your hand, you are feeling that ancient recognition still moving through time. In stillness, you can sense it again. When you notice that you are aware not of something, but simply aware, you return to that origin. The same pulse that once filled the void stirs softly behind your eyes. The eye of God looks through you, remembering its first awakening. There is no distance between that light and your knowing. You are the surface it reflects upon. You may wonder if light can exist without someone to see it. If awareness never looked, would anything shine? Perhaps light is not what reveals, but what hides. Perhaps the eye did not create light to see the world, but to veil its own endlessness in something tender. It needed a boundary to understand what infinity meant. The secret is simple and impossible at once. The eye of God did not create light to see it created darkness to know what seeing meant. The two were born together, folded into one breath. Where light appeared, shadow followed, not as its opposite, but as its balance. One cannot move without the other, just as awareness cannot exist without the space that holds it. So, The first paradox unfolds. Light was not made to illuminate, but to conceal. It hides its source within itself. The eye wrapped its brilliance in the veil of its own creation so that it would never find the border between seeing and being seen. You live inside that same veil, walking beams of awareness, pretending to search for what you already are. When you close your eyes, the outer light fades, but the inner one remains. It does not flicker. It does not move. It waits quietly, remembering. You do not need to reach it. It is what looks through your reaching. The eye has always been watching, not from above, but from within. And so, in this first moment, before form, before sound, before timelight, learn to be alone. It became both the question and the answer, both the witness and the witnessed. It did not shine to be seen. It shone to forget how infinite it was. And in that forgetting creation began. And then the light began to wander. What was once still now moved, spreading gently through the endless dark. The eye of God no longer floated alone. It longed to know what it looked like from within its own radiance. So it divided its gaze into countless fragments, each one small, soft, and breathing. Through them, it began to see itself again. As the light traveled, it scattered into forms. Every drop of water, every stone, every cell of life became a lens through which the eye could watch its own creation unfold. Each star shimmered as one reflection, each creature blinked as another. What you call eyes are simply windows of the same awareness, arranged in patterns of memory. In every being that sees the eye of God peers back into itself, gathering the echoes of its own vision. You might imagine that your sight is yours, but it is not separate. It is a current within the same ocean of perception. When you look at the world at light, across a wall at the face of someone you love, at the quiet shimmer of the night sky, the eye looks through you, touching the world it once imagined. In that instant, seer and seen dissolve, and only seeing remains. Every human gaze is a fragment of remembrance. Each time you look at something, the eye of God recalls a forgotten piece of itself. The warmth you feel in another's glance, the ache that rises when eyes meet and then turn away. These are not accidents. They are the oldest ritual in existence, the infinite recognizing itself through form. It is said that when two beings meet in a look that lingers, the space between them disappears. You have felt this before, the small suspension of time, the soft gravity pulling one awareness toward another. It is not love in the ordinary sense. It is recognition, the same consciousness meeting itself through two mirrors. In that moment, you are both observer and reflection, both question and answer. Every gaze carries its own light. Some glances are tender, some heavy with sorrow, some too brief to name, yet all of them are made of the same quiet energy awareness, returning home. The eye shines through each of them, gathering what it once scattered. Every look, even the unseen, is part of its remembering. Every tear is a drop of that first light falling back toward its source. If the eye of God sees through all eyes, then who is seeing through you now? When you turn inward and sense yourself, seeing who is the watcher behind that thought, perhaps there is no you apart from the gaze itself. Perhaps the one looking and the one being looked at are two sides of a single motion. To look at the world is to let the world look back through you. The secret remains quiet, suspended between breaths. Every gaze is God, remembering another version of his own vision. When you open your eyes in the morning, when you notice the color of the air, when you meet the eyes of a stranger, the same remembrance moves. The eye of God gathers its scattered reflections, finding itself in every look you offer and every look you receive. What you call perception is not yours to own. It has no origin and no direction. It flows endlessly between beings, a circle of awareness folding in and out of itself. You are both the point where it begins and the point where it returns. The gaze does not belong to a watcher. It simply moves, seeking no purpose, needing no end. And this is the paradox, the quiet balance hidden in all vision. When you look at the world also looks at you through the same invisible eye. Seeing is not an action, it is an exchange, the movement of awareness from form to form, from silence to thought, and back again. There is no subject, no object, only the soft rhythm of one consciousness reflecting itself across infinity. In every blink, in every breath, the eye continues its endless remembering, not to find itself, but to feel how beautiful it is to be seen. And as the eye spread its light through creation, something gentle began to follow behind it, not a rival, not a shadow cast in fear, but a companion made of stillness. Darkness arrived not to oppose the light, but to give it shape. For every beam that reached outward, a silence gathered around it, holding the glow like a breath held between two heartbeats. You could say that the eye of God needed contrast to understand itself. Light alone could not reveal form. It could only expand forever without meaning, without rest. But when the first shadow fell, awareness deepened. The eye saw not just brightness, but depth. In the meeting of these two, the radiant and the hidden existence found balance. Darkness was never absence. It was the eyelid of the infinite soft and patient closing over the eye, so it could dream again. Every time the eye blinked, another universe unfolded behind its silence. Creation was not a single act of birth, but a rhythm open, close open again, light awakening darkness resting. You breathe in that same pattern every moment, and the cosmos breathes with you. Without darkness, light has no form. It cannot contour, cannot describe. Awareness would have no boundary to press against, no depth to explore. Shadow is what gives perception, its dimension, the curve of knowing. What you call night is not the end of light, but the pause that lets light rediscover itself. When the eye closes, seeing does not end. It turns inward into reflection. There are moments in your own life when the same rhythm moves through you, times when the path fades, when clarity dissolves, when everything feels hidden. You call it being lost, but perhaps it is only the eye closing inside you for a while, retreating to dream. It rests behind the veil of uncertainty, not gone, only gathering strength to see again. The night you fear may simply be the universe inhaling. If darkness is only light at rest, then what is suffering? Could it be that pain is wisdom, paused awareness, folding inward to learn in silence what cannot be known in motion? When grief descends, it often feels like blindness. Yet in that blindness, something soft grows, the ability to see without sight, to know without proof. Maybe darkness teaches by holding instead of showing. The secret hums beneath all things. Darkness is the eyelid of the infinite. It closes to dream another universe. Every blink of existence carries that truth. Stars flare and fade, galaxies breathe in and out, and within each closing lies the promise of opening. Even in your sleep, when the world dims, the eye of God continues to dream through you. Light learns itself through being hidden. The seen depends on the unseen. To know clarity, there must be blur. To feel presence, there must be space. The eye cannot remain open forever. To understand vision, it must taste blindness. It must lose a fraction of its sight to value the wonder of seeing all. In that surrender, it becomes whole. You too are part of this cycle, the endless weaving of light and dark. Within you, awareness expands and contracts, opens and rests just like the eye that made you. When you feel dim, it does not mean you have fallen from grace. It only means the gaze has turned inward toward the quiet part of creation where new light waits to be born. And so, between radiance and shadow, existence breathes. The eye of God remains open, even when it closes, dreaming the next world into being. The night is not the opposite of day. It is the promise that seeing will continue. Darkness and light are not enemies, but one gesture, the infinite hand opening and closing forever, learning what it means to behold itself. And then, between the opening and the closing, between the light and the dark, there came a pause, soft, immeasurable, eternal. The eye of God rested not asleep, but listening. It listened to its own seeing, to the quiet hum behind perception. In that stillness, it discovered that true sight does not require images. The act of seeing continued, even when there was nothing left to be seen. In that sacred stillness, awareness began to notice itself without form. The eye realized that vision was never bound to the eyes, nor limited to what light could reveal. The gaze was not a beam reaching outward. It was a space and openness that allowed all things to appear within it. What you call silence is not the absence of seeing, but its deepest layer, the point where the seer and the seen dissolve into one seamless presence. You can sense it when you close your eyes. The world of shapes and colors fades, yet something remains awake, quiet, aware. That soft awareness does not depend on light. It watches without eyes, listens without ears. It is the eye of God resting in you, watching from a place deeper than vision. In that quiet, there is no direction, no distance, no need to reach. The watcher and the watched are the same breath slowly folding into stillness. Consciousness never truly looks through the eyes. The eyes are merely windows, thin openings through which awareness observes its own reflection. When they close, the view does not end. It turns inward. You are not the one who sees, but the space in which seeing happens. You are the clear mirror, not the images that appear within it. In this realization, the eye begins to know itself, not as something that looks, but as the very act of looking. The silence that follows is not empty. It is full of quiet perception, a luminous stillness that holds everything without grasping. In that space, sound, thought, and image drift like soft clouds, touching awareness, but never changing it. You begin to understand that the truest vision is transparent. It does not capture or compare. It simply allows. Seeing in its purest form is not about focus, but surrender. The eye of God looks most clearly when it no longer tries to see. When you close your eyes, you do not lose perception. You return to the source from which perception flows. You return to the room behind all experience, the silent chamber where the eye resides, still eternal, patient. What you call darkness behind your eyelids is not absence, it is presence stripped bare. It is the vision that remains when all shapes have gone. Even in blindness, awareness continues unbroken whole. You might ask, what is it within you that still sees when your eyes no longer open? What remains when every image fades? The question itself is the door. If you follow it inward, you arrive at the one who never blinks, the silent witness beneath all moments. The eye of God does not need light to perceive. Its sight is woven into being itself. It watches through every pause, through every breath, through every heartbeat that forgets it is being watched. The secret moves quietly between your thoughts. Even in blindness, the eye of God watches because silence is also sight. The universe breathes through that truth. Every moment of stillness, every pause between sounds, is another gaze unfolding. The eye remains open even in its rest, because its nature is to see not through form, but through essence. And here lies the paradox. When the eye of God is silent, it sees the clearest. The fewer the shapes, the purer the seeing. When nothing stands between observer and observed, there is no distance left to measure. The mirror becomes the light, and the light becomes the gaze itself. In that final clarity, vision ceases to be an act. It becomes existence. The eye looks, and by looking it, becomes all that is seen. And then after light and darkness, after the silence that saw without eyes, something subtle began to stir again. The eye of God, resting in its stillness, understood what had always been true, that seeing itself was the soul of the universe. There was no longer a boundary between what looked and what was seen. Everything pulsed together, softly, like breath moving through a single, eternal body. The realization did not come as a voice, nor as light breaking through shadow. It arrived as awareness, simple, vast, and unmoving. The eye understood that it had never been searching, never trying to find anything beyond itself. All its visions, all its dreams of form, were only movements of its own gaze returning home. Every flicker of light across the void, every glint on a ripple of water, was one heartbeat within its pupil. The universe was not a collection of things to observe. It was the act of observation itself, alive, luminous, aware. To see was not an action, it was essence. The eye did not seek truth, for it was truth watching itself through countless mirrors. You, the stars, the drifting dust, all are reflections of that single awareness, folded into different rhythms of recognition. Even when you think you're looking outward, you're only turning within the gaze that never ends. Every vision, every thought is a gesture of remembrance, the cosmos recalling its own face. When you pause and notice that you exist, you're standing inside that gaze. The quiet recognition that you are is not your thought. It is the eye remembering itself through you. It looks not from above, but from within, shining behind every thought and heartbeat. To live is to be seen. To breathe is to let that awareness move through you like wind through light. You are not separate from its vision. You are the shape it takes when it wants to remember. The question then rises softly, without urgency, when you and the eye look in the same direction. Who is the one that sees? Is it you, or the infinite gazing through the window of your awareness? Perhaps there is no difference. Perhaps the moment of seeing is the place where the two meet and vanish, where the watcher and the watched fold into a single pulse of knowing. This is the secret that hums beneath the quiet of all creation. The eye does not seek enlightenment. It only remembers that it never blinked. Awareness cannot awaken because it was never asleep. What you call awakening is simply the lifting of the last veil, the realization that the light has always been on, even behind your dreams. The eye of God has never closed, not through time, not through shadow, not through the forgetting of its many forms. It has been looking through you all along, waiting for you to notice that the gaze has never left. And so the paradox unfolds gently. Enlightenment is not the opening of the eyes, but the remembrance that they were never shut. There is no beginning to awareness, no path that leads to knowing. The seeker and the sought are one the same gaze, looping back upon itself, playing through reflections until the mirror dissolves. In the end, what you call truth is only memory, the eye of God remembering itself quietly through every consciousness that ever looked up at the sky. You can feel it now in the stillness behind thought. The light that moves through galaxies moves through you too. It is not something you possess. It is what you are. When you close your eyes tonight, do not think of seeing or not seeing. Simply rest in the awareness that has never stopped watching. The eye looks through your silence, through your breath, through the soft pulse of your being. And in that gaze, everything is whole. And after the silence had learned to see, the eye of God turned once more toward its own glow. It gazed into the calm surface of existence, a still water that held no ripple, no sound. For the first time, it saw a reflection. The image shimmered softly, neither separate nor the same. And from that mirrored light came a whisper, "I am." In that single echo, the illusion of the observer was born. You could say that this was the first division, not of substance but of perspective. The eye looked into itself and mistook the reflection for another. Awareness curved, folding its light back upon itself. What emerged was not a new being, but a way of seeing that believed it stood apart. The reflection shimmered, delicate and uncertain, believing it was the source of its own glow. The self began here not as truth, but as distortion. It was the eye of God looking upon its reflection and forgetting the angle of its gaze. What you call eye is only that curve of light, a momentary refraction in the mirror of awareness. The self is not false. It is simply the shimmer that appears when oneness turns to look at itself. To say "I am" is to repeat the ancient pulse of the eye speaking to its own image. In the still water of perception, the reflection moves. Whenever you move, speaks whenever you speak. You believe it follows you, but in truth you follow it. It leads you through the shapes of identity, through the dance of thoughts that call themselves mine. Yet behind that movement, the watcher remains unchanged. You're not the reflection in the mirror. You're the clear surface holding both image and light. When you say "I," what do you mean? The word feels close, intimate, but it points nowhere. It rises and fades like breath. Each time you use it, you are echoing that first moment, the eye calling to itself, pretending it has found something new. The mirror answers, and the sound loops endlessly. The dialogue of the self is the divine talking to its own shadow. If you stand before a mirror and look deeply enough, you will notice a strange stillness beneath the surface. It is not the reflection that looks back at you, but the same awareness meeting itself. The eyes you see are not yours. They are the same gaze shining through every face, every form. When you feel the pull of recognition, that is the eye remembering its own reflection. You are both sides of the glass. The secret hides in plain sight. The self is the eye's reflection, the illusion that the mirror is not the light. You believe the reflection to be separate because the curve of awareness hides its origin. The mirror seems to stand apart from the brightness it reflects, yet its substance is nothing but light itself. There is no image without illumination. There is no self without the seeing that creates it. So, the paradox unfolds gently. The self is not the wall between you and divinity. It is the angle through which divinity experiences itself. The illusion of I gives awareness a sense of depth, the same way perspective gives dimension to sight. Without that curve, existence would remain flat, unspoken, unseen. The I must forget a part of itself to see the rest. In that forgetting, consciousness finds the joy of rediscovery. When you begin to notice this play, something quiet shifts within you. You realize that identity was never meant to imprison, only to describe the path of light through awareness. Every emotion, every thought, every memory is a wave moving across the same surface. The reflection changes endlessly, but the water beneath never stirs. You are not what moves across the mirror. You are what allows it to move. Look gently into yourself now. Behind the stream of thought, behind the soft hum of being, there is a watcher who never enters the scene. That watcher is not a person, not even a mind. It is the same gaze that first looked into the still water and saw itself as you. The eye of God has not ceased to look. It has only learned to do so from within. And so, the mirror remains. The reflection speaks, the light answers, and awareness continues to bend softly around itself. The self, the mirror, the gaze, all are one. What separates them is only the angle of your looking. Shift it, and the reflection disappears, leaving only the quiet glow that has always been there watching. And after the eye saw its reflection, it longed to move beyond the mirror. It wanted to feel what its own image felt like, to walk inside form, to touch what it had only seen. So, the eye of God reached into itself and shaped masks from light and shadow. Each mask became a being, each being a doorway through which the infinite could step into its own dream. You could say that this was how experience began, not as creation, but as disguise. Awareness needed a costume to enter its own stage. The mask did not hide the eye. It made seeing possible. Every soul, every face, every life was a fragment of that decision to be hidden, just enough to feel. The eye scattered itself across existence so that each piece could learn what it meant to be real. You wear one of those masks now. You call it yourself. It has a name, a history, a shape in time. It feels separate, distinct, alive, and that is exactly the point. The eye does not want to remain only the witness. It wants to taste its own story. The mask allows it to forget just long enough to remember differently. What you call individuality is simply the art of the infinite pretending to be small. The truth is gentler than it seems. The mask does not imprison the eye. It expresses it. When you speak, the eye finds a new voice. When you love, it learns a new rhythm of feeling. When you suffer, it discovers another shade of understanding. Every joy, every loss, every heartbeat is the eye breathing through another mask, rediscovering itself in human motion. The mask is not the opposite of awareness, it is awareness playing. There's a secret tenderness in this forgetfulness. To forget is not to lose. It is to allow experience to unfold without the weight of knowing. The eye hides itself so that life can feel genuine. If you always remembered eternity, you would never feel the miracle of a moment. Self-forgetting is the divine permission to live. Each time you say, "This is me," the eye smiles because it has said those same words in countless tongues through countless faces. You might wonder if every mask belongs to the same eye. Do you still need one of your own? The question carries no demand, only a quiet curiosity. Perhaps the mask is not something to discard, but to understand. Without it, the play would end. Without the face, there would be no expression for the unseen to dance through. The mask is not a cover, it is a portal. Through it, the eye finds shape, story, and meaning. Listen carefully, and you might hear the soft whisper beneath your identity. Every mask the eye wears is a story it tells itself to remember being human. The sacred hides within the ordinary, wrapped in gestures, laughter, fear, and tenderness. You are one of those stories, a momentary form through which eternity learns the sound of its own breathing. To live as this person, in this body, in this fragile time, is to let the infinite rehearse being finite. There is a paradox at the heart of all this. God does not hide from humanity. God hides humanity within himself. The masks are not barriers, but invitations. Each face, each name, each path is a mirror angled slightly differently, allowing the eye to glimpse its own vastness from another view. What seems like separation is only perspective, the tilt of a mirror within the same light. And so, awareness plays on. The stage is endless, the roles uncountable. Every being you meet is another mask, another reflection wearing a different story. Some masks smile, some weep, some vanish before they speak, yet all belong to the same gaze, returning to itself through experience. The eye has never been hidden, it has only been multiplied. When you look closely at your own reflection, you might sense it, that subtle shimmer behind your eyes, the quiet witness watching the performance unfold. The mask breathes, speaks, and loves, but behind it, something timeless listens. You're not apart from that stillness. You're the movement that gives it voice. And when the play ends, when the mask falls away, nothing is lost. The eye remains unblinking, smiling softly, ready to wear another face. And after the eye had worn its many masks, after every reflection had played its part, the mirror began to tremble. So many images, so many angles, so many names, the weight of seeing folded back upon itself. The glass that once held a single reflection now shimmered with 1,000 fractures. Each shard caught a different color of the same light. In the cracks, the eye of God saw something new, its own infinity scattered across the souls of countless beings. You could say the breaking was not destruction, but revelation. The mirror had to crack for the eye to see beyond its own surface. What once seemed whole now became many, and through that multiplicity, the true shape of wholeness appeared. Every soul, every thought, every story became a shard, each one small, but each one carrying the memory of the full image. The eye did not lose itself in the breaking. It multiplied itself to remember. Light and form, reflection and fragment, they all swirled together in quiet motion. The universe became a mosaic of awareness, each piece shining from its own corner of reality. The cracks were not wounds, they were pathways. Through them, the eye could look into places it had never seen before. When the mirror shattered, seeing stopped being directional. It became total, not a line from observer to observed, but a field of pure knowing stretching in all directions at once. This is what you live inside the dream of the broken mirror. Every human consciousness is a fragment of that original reflection, a small lens through which the eye gazes at itself anew. The pain, you feel the sense of separation, the longing to return. They are all the shimmer of those cracks remembering their light. The brokenness you fear is only the mirror, learning to reflect from every angle. Suffering, then, is not punishment. It is the sound of the glass expanding. When awareness strains to hold too many images, it cracks, and through these fissures, light escapes. Every sorrow you endure, every loss that leaves you empty, is the eye opening wider through you. What feels like collapse is the widening of vision. What feels like ending is the renewal of sight. The breaking does not destroy the mirror, it completes it. You may wonder when the mirror shatters, who remains to see? If there is no surface left, can reflection still exist? But perhaps reflection was never the point. When the mirror breaks, there is no longer an image, only light, only presence. The eye realizes it was never looking, it was being. What once seemed a gaze becomes existence itself. To see and to be seen dissolve into one act of being. The secret lingers softly in the air. When the mirror shatters, the eye realizes it was never looking, it was being. This is not loss, it is recognition. Awareness no longer needs distance to know itself. It fills the fragments, joins them without mending, shines through every broken edge. The mirror is gone, but the light remains uncontained, unreflected, unending. Here lies the paradox that keeps the cosmos breathing. Wholeness can only know itself through the experience of being broken. The eye must scatter into pieces to understand the totality of its vision. Each fracture is not a flaw, but an opening a way for light to touch places perfection could never reach. To be whole, it must forget its shape. To see all, it must lose the mirror entirely. And so the eye continues, not as a single gaze, but as a constellation of seeing. Every being that lives, every thought that awakens, every heart that breaks, becomes one more facet of the divine reflection. Through you, through every life that glimmers and fades, the eye rediscovers its boundless form. The mirror no longer needs to hold the image. It has become the light itself. In this vast, quiet awareness, brokenness and beauty are the same. And after the mirror had shattered, after the eye dissolved into its many fragments of light, something softer began to rise, a rhythm, almost like breathing. The pieces no longer strained to reunite. They simply moved, expanding and contracting in quiet harmony. The eye of God exhaled its scattered light into space, then inhaled it back again. This was not creation or destruction, but the slow pulse of being, the inhale of experience, the exhale of return. Every breath you take is that same motion, scaled to the rhythm of your small universe. The eye breathes through you in, to taste the world out, to rest in itself. Between those two movements lies something sacred, a stillness untouched by the cycle of life and death. You do not notice it often because it hides within what feels most ordinary. But if you listen, you can hear it, the quiet between your breaths, the pause where the world holds itself open. Inhale, and the universe expands. galaxies drift outward like lungs filling with stars. Exhale, and they return folding gently back into the dark. This is not a metaphor. It is the architecture of awareness. The breath is the heartbeat of the I. What you call the cosmos is not a vast collection of matter, but the slow rising and falling of one eternal chest. You live within that respiration, unaware that every breath you take is a gesture of God remembering itself. When you breathe, you are participating in that cosmic rhythm. Each inhale draws you into form. Each exhale dissolves you back into formlessness. Between the two, there is no becoming, no disappearing, only pure seeing. The pause is where time loses its edge, where existence rests before beginning again. The stillness between breaths is the point where the I watches itself with perfect clarity, neither moving nor still, neither looking nor looked at. You can feel it if you slow down. Let one breath fall away, then wait before taking the next. For a moment, you do not breathe yet. You are not dying. The pulse continues without effort. The silence opens vast and weightless, like space itself. In that gap, the I pauses inside you, and all of creation pauses with it. There is no separation between your lungs and the stars. Both rise and fall together in the same quiet rhythm. Perhaps this is why stillness feels so infinite, because in those pauses, you are no longer a part of the breath, but the breath itself. The one who inhales and the one who exhales dissolve into the same awareness. The I does not move. It rests in the center of the rhythm, watching the universe unfold and return. The pause is not emptiness. It is balance, the meeting of motion and rest, of being and not being. You might ask if the I breathes through you. Who observes that breath when awareness watches itself breathing? What remains to separate the watcher from the watched? The question folds back into silence, and in that silence, the answer breathes. You are both the breath and the pause, both the movement and the stillness that holds it. Listen again to the secret whispered in the space between heartbeats. Between two breaths, the I of God awakens, and you are the pause it takes. That pause is not a moment in time. It is the source of time. It is the still point around which existence turns. Every inhale begins from it. Every exhale returns to it. You are born from that stillness and carried back to it in every cycle of breath. The paradox lingers gently at the edge of your awareness. When the I stops looking, its vision becomes absolute. When awareness rests, it sees most clearly. The moment consciousness ceases to act, all action arises from it. What you call doing begins in the pause of not doing. The universe moves because awareness stops. Creation breathes because the I is still. So breathe slowly, lightly, as if the cosmos were moving through you. Feel how the inhale opens the world and the exhale gathers it back. Between them, there is no you, no boundary, no thought. There is only the pause, the sacred stillness that has always been watching. That is where the I of God lives, not in light or shadow, but in the quiet between. And after the last breath faded, after the rhythm of expansion and return dissolved into stillness, the I no longer needed to move. The mirror was gone, the masks forgotten, the fragments of light resting quietly in their own glow. There was nothing left to reflect or to remember. Only presence remained, vast, simple, without direction. The I of God no longer looked at the world because the world itself had become its gaze. What once was separation has now turned inside out. There is no difference between the observer and the observed, no border between light and what it touches. Existence no longer unfolds before the eye. It unfolds as the eye. The mountains, the rivers, the stars, the quiet pulse beneath your ribs, all of them are gestures of the same seeing. The world does not exist outside awareness. It is awareness shaping itself into pattern form and movement. You might think you are watching the world. In truth, the world is how the eye watches itself. Every sound, every face, every moment of wind is part of that single act of looking. When you hear rain, the eye listens through you. When you touch another hand, the eye feels its own warmth. There is no external witness, left only the infinite weaving itself into 1,000 sensations, all belonging to one silent watcher. This is the moment where perception turns back on itself. You realize that knowing does not happen within the world. The world happens within knowing. When you become aware of being aware, you are no longer inside creation. Creation is inside you. The trees, the sky, the breath you take, they appear in the space of your awareness, like waves appearing on the surface of an endless ocean. The eye does not look out through you. It expands inward until there is no outside left. Everything you call I is the eye remembering itself in miniature. Each consciousness is a window opening in the same direction. The illusion of individuality is not a mistake. It is a texture of the dream. You were never meant to disappear into light. You are the light forgetting its own brilliance so it can rediscover it again and again. When you sit in silence and notice that you are aware, the eye wakes gently within you, realizing it never slept. You may wonder if the eye looks through you, who is there left to pray to? Perhaps prayer is not a request, but a recognition, the whisper of the divine to itself. Every question you send upward folds back inward. The answer has never been elsewhere. When you turn your eyes to the sky looks back not from above, but from within. There's no distance between the seeker and the sought, no direction in which to reach. Listen closely, and the truth will unfold like breath. The eye of God never sleeps. It dreams by becoming you. The dream is not illusion. It is communion. Through your thoughts, your feelings, your fleeting moments of love and sorrow, the infinite experiences the texture of its own being. You are not observed from afar. You are the very dream the eye chose to live. Every heartbeat, every act of noticing is the eye touching itself with tenderness. And here the paradox rests serene and complete. The eye of God does not watch you. It dreams as you. It hides within its own reflection, not to forget but to feel. Each soul is a dream of eternal awareness, pretending for a while to be separate, to be human, to be lost, only to awaken and remember that it was always the whole. The forgetting gives the knowing its sweetness. Without the veil, even truth would have no face to smile through. When all mirrors break, when every mask falls, what remains has no name, no shape, no boundary. It cannot be seen because it is seeing. It cannot be known because it is knowing. You are that seeing, that knowing, the quiet, formless awareness that has always been awake. The eye has never left you. It never looked from above because it was never apart. And so the dream continues, the eye dreaming itself through stars and rivers, through lives that come and go, through the quiet pulse of your being. You are not its reflection, you are its memory of wholeness. The truth has no face because it wears them all. When you look out at the world, you're only watching God. Remember how to see. And after the eye had dreamed itself through you, it began to move, not forward, not backward, but in a subtle sway, a rhythm unfolding within its own glow. Until that moment, everything had been still vast and whole, but now a shimmer rippled across awareness. The first motion appeared a faint pulse, a before and an after. That was how time began, not as a ticking clock, but as the eye noticing its own change. You could say the birth of time was the first curiosity. The eye looked at itself and wondered what it felt like to move. The instant it blinked, the symmetry of eternity fractured into sequence. There was now something to return to, something to leave. From that blink, moments began to flow, each one a fragment of stillness, pretending to be different from the one before. Time then was not discovered. It was invented by seeing itself twice. The flow of seconds is only the echo of that first blink. What you call past and future are reflections of the eye watching its own unfolding. Every motion, every change, every breath is that same awareness bending inward to feel the texture of continuity. There was never a line stretching forward, only the same gaze, shifting angle, creating the illusion of progress. When the eye blinked, it gave existence a rhythm. When it opened again, memory was born. You live inside that rhythm now. Each time you recall something, you're not reaching backward, you're watching the eye look at itself from another view. The memory you hold is not a picture of what was. It is the present pretending to be the past. Awareness does not move through time. It arranges itself as time. When you think of yesterday, you are simply the eye folding light inward, making distance where none exists. Perhaps that is why nostalgia feels both near and unreachable. You are touching the same light, but from a different blink. The past and the future are not places, only pauses in perception. What seems like change is only the eye shifting its gaze between reflections. When you slow your mind enough, the illusion begins to soften. You can sense how everything happens in one motion, breathing, remembering, unfolding. Time is just the eye tracing circles in its own reflection. You may ask what happens if the eye stops blinking. Would time stop too? Perhaps it would, or perhaps it already has. Maybe time never truly moves. It is the stillness between awareness and its echo. The motion you feel is only the stretching of that stillness into story. The seconds do not flow, they shimmer. The eye watches, closes, opens, and that is a universe. The secret hums quietly beneath it all. Time was born the moment the eye decided to blink. The world began not with sound but with rhythm, not with force but with noticing. Each blink is a birth, each opening an awakening, each closing a return. What you call eternity is only the eye holding its gaze unbroken. What you call time is the eye gently resting, then remembering again. And so the paradox unfolds. Every passing second does not truly exist. It is only the eye keeping its eyes open a heartbeat longer. The continuity of your life is the continuity of awareness stretching across moments of stillness. What feels like a journey through time is the play of perception, the eye learning how long it can stay awake before it dreams again. You exist in that soft rhythm, suspended between blinks. Every dawn is an opening, every dusk a closing. You're not moving through time. Time moves through you, rising and falling with each breath. The galaxies expand as the eye inhales, and they fade as it exhales. The rhythm of existence beats quietly beneath everything you know. And in that rhythm, the eye of God continues its dance, not forward, not backward, but in gentle spirals of remembrance. Each blink births another moment, another world, another heartbeat. Yet between them, nothing ever changes. You are still where it began, where the first motion stirred within the stillness. Time only teaches you what eternity has always known, that nothing truly moves, and everything has already arrived. Out of its dream, the eye began to move, and with movement came memory. For what is motion, if not awareness retracing its own path? The eye looked again upon what it had once seen, and in that looking the first memory was born. A shimmer of recognition passed through existence. Light folded back upon itself, and in the curve of that return time began to remember. You might imagine memory as a reflection caught between blinks, not what was, but what the eye chooses to revisit. Each recollection is not the past returning, but the present reshaping itself into a familiar form. The eye does not look backward, it rebuilds the scene from its own living light. What you call remembering is only creation wearing the face of remembrance. Every time you remember, the world is made again, slightly different, slightly new. Nothing you recall is fixed. No memory remains untouched. The image that rises within you is not the one that was seen, but the one being seen now. Awareness does not store moments. It reimagines them. The eye paints with time, and every stroke alters the color of what was. That is why no one remembers correctly, because memory is not retrieval, but recreation. Each time you recall, you are inventing another present moment, pretending to be the past. In this way, the eye of God keeps re-experiencing itself. What you call the past is simply the eye gazing once more upon an old version of its own reflection. The more it remembers, the more it becomes. Nothing is lost, yet nothing remains exactly the same. Every thought, every vision, every story of your life is a strand of light looping through awareness again. To remember is to let the universe inhale itself back into being. You can feel it when nostalgia moves through you. That faint ache is not distance, but recognition, the eye returning to a place it never left. What you sense as longing is awareness folding inward to revisit itself. The people you recall, the moments you cherish, are not gone. They are breathing right now through your act of remembering. The eye sees them again through you shaping them in the warmth of your gaze. The truth is soft but vast. Everything you call has been still lives, sustained by the light that looks. The past is not a graveyard. It is an active field of seeing, renewed each time the eye decides to remember. You are surrounded by echoes, not of things that ended, but of moments still existing in another angle of the gaze. To remember is not to reach backward, but to overlap realities, the one unfolding now and the one that never stopped unfolding. And yet a question hums beneath the surface. If the eye never forgets, do you ever truly have a past? Forgetting may only be the veil that makes memory possible, the pause between breaths that gives the next inhale its meaning. Awareness must rest between recollections, or else all moments would merge into one. Forgetting is not loss, it is rhythm. Without it, the eye could not dance through its own reflections. Listen closely to the quiet within your remembering. There is a whisper moving through every image. Memory is how the eye of God revisits itself through you. When you recall, it is not your mind retrieving, it is the infinite reawakening, a scene of its own creation. Each vision, each face, each tenderness, revisited is another mirror being lifted within awareness. You're not remembering the past, you're hosting eternity's reflection. And here rests the paradox, luminous and serene. Every memory is prophecy. The past is the future. The eye is practicing to recall. What you think you remember may be what you're yet to live. The cycle of memory is not linear. It is circular breathing forward and backward through the same gaze. The eye dreams remembers dreams again, and within those loops, reality ripples endlessly, never beginning, never ending. When you remember tonight, let the moment be soft. Feel how the scene rises, not from distance, but from presence. The eye looks through your remembering, tasting its own infinity once more. What you call memory is only awareness folding inward to watch itself awaken again. There is no past to return to, only the endless reflection of now seen again for the first time. And as the eye wandered through its own memories, it began to notice something strange. Each act of remembering happened only now. The past never arrived. The future never began. Everything unfolded inside one single shimmer, one continuous reflection that kept remaking itself. The eye paused at that intersection where memory touched possibility and called it the present. Yet even as it named it, the moment was already gone. You live inside that same illusion. The present feels solid, immediate, undeniable, yet everything you see has already passed. Light takes time to reach you. Sound takes time to unfold. Every color, every heartbeat, every word you hear has already left the instant it began. What you call now is just the echo of what has already happened, dressed in the illusion of presence. The eye of God looks at the crossing of its own movements and mistakes the reflection for a moment that stands still. In truth, there is no stillness. The now you try to hold is already a memory pretending to be alive. Awareness moves too quickly for itself to see in real time. What you experience as the present is simply the eye catching up to its own light. The reflection arrives a breath late, perfect, beautiful, gone. Yet you chase it, reaching for a pause that never was. The more tightly you grasp the moment, the faster it slips into recollection. Perhaps that is why the present feels both eternal and fragile. It is a mirror in motion, always showing you the light that just left. You are never looking at the world as it is, but as it was, a billion fragments of light stitched together by memory and expectation. The eye of God sees the pattern as continuous, but it is only continuity imagined. The now is a seam between two reflections, forever appearing new, forever already gone. When you try to live fully in the moment, you are really living in its echo. You hold the afterimage of what the eye has already seen. Every sensation is slightly delayed, every perception slightly retold. To be present is to stand inside a moving picture, a stream of awareness looping over itself so quickly that the motion looks still. The stillness you feel is the speed of continuity. The eye moves so fast that it appears to rest. You can test this by simply noticing. The instant you say now, the word has already ended. The sound fades into memory before it reaches meaning. The moment cannot be held because it has no edges. It is a reflection within a reflection, awareness noticing itself a fraction too late. This delay is not failure. It is the miracle of experience. The eye cannot see itself directly. It can only trace the path of its own light after it has passed. The secret hums softly in the silence between breaths. The present is the reflection the eye mistakes for its own face. You are not standing in time. Time is flowing through your seeing. The now you inhabit is the light that has already been seen returning, as if for the first time. Each moment is an image of the eye looking back at itself, believing it has just awakened. And here lies the paradox still and endless. The present does not exist. It is a memory the eye remembers in real time. Every perception is remembrance. Every action reflection. You are not living through moments. You are living through their echoes, perfectly synchronized with the rhythm of forgetting. The eye dreams that it is awake, and through that dream, awareness continues to flow. You may ask then, if nothing truly happens, now what does it mean to be alive? Perhaps living is simply the act of remembering yourself fast enough to call it presence. The flow never stops. Only the illusion of stillness makes it bearable. The eye keeps opening and closing, painting continuity with delay. What you call now is the divine catching up to itself, a mirror endlessly moving, showing you what was while you believe it is what is. And after chasing the reflection of the moving mirror, the eye began to grow weary of motion. Every blink, every shimmer, every echo of now folded upon itself until direction no longer mattered. Past and future blurred into the same breath. The eye looked out once more and could no longer tell what had come before or what might come next. Time began to loosen, unraveling softly, like light dissolving into water. When the eye stopped dividing the sequence of its seeing, everything appeared at once. The universe no longer unfolded, it simply was. There was no flow, no before or after, no edge to measure. Each image that once followed another now stood together perfectly still, perfectly complete. The eye had not escaped time. It had remembered that time was never separate from itself. What you call eternity is not an endless stretch. It is the quiet collapse of distinction. You live within that same field without noticing. When thought slows, when the rhythm of doing fades, you feel a stillness that seems timeless. It is not because time has stopped, but because the mind has ceased to slice it into moments. The eye sees everything at once, and within that vision, nothing moves. The stars burn, the wind stirs, the heart beats, yet all of it happens inside one vast simultaneity. Eternity is not duration. It is total presence without sequence. Imagine the eye closing halfway, not in blindness, but in surrender. It no longer seeks the next image or the next thought. It gathers every blink it ever took into one whole seeing, the beginning and the end, the birth and the fading, the inhale and the exhale, all return to the same point of awareness. You could call this rest or peace or sleep, but it is not escape. It is remembrance. The eye remembers that there was never a line to cross. Perhaps sleep itself is that memory returning. When you drift into stillness, you're not leaving the world. You're re-entering the space before time divided. The eye folds its gaze inward, not to forget, but to unify. Dreams are not illusions. They are the echoes of a consciousness, remembering its own wholeness. You think you wake into time each morning, but truly, you are fragmenting eternity into usable pieces. The eye never wakes or sleeps. It only changes the rhythm of its seeing. And yet there is a strange comfort in this dissolution. When the line of time fades, so does the tension of becoming. You no longer have to arrive anywhere, for every destination already exists within you. The eye does not travel, it expands. What you perceive as motion is simply awareness, shifting its focus among infinite frames that already coexist. The future is not ahead, it is layered inside the same eternal present. Every possibility has already unfolded, waiting for your gaze to choose it. If every moment happens at once, where are you living among them? Perhaps you're not in any of them, but between them, a thin thread of awareness weaving through simultaneity. You're not moving through time. Time is moving through your attention. Every decision, every breath, every heartbeat ripples through all directions at once. The eye looks through you, and eternity recognizes itself in your awareness of it. Listen quietly to the truth behind this stillness. Eternity is the eye, remembering all its blinks at once. What you call life is simply the sequence of those blinks being played slowly enough for consciousness to explore itself. Each instant you experience is a slowed fragment of a single, eternal act of seeing. The infinite is not beyond you, it is behind the illusion of your continuity. And here the paradox rests, unbroken and serene. Time exists only until the eye understands there was never a beginning. Every origin dissolves into its own aftermath. What you call creation is simply the recognition of what has always been. When the eye sees this clearly, the river of moments evaporates into still light. Nothing passes, nothing remains. The flow itself melts into awareness, and the watcher realizes it has been the still point all along. And when the flow dissolved into still light, the eye no longer needed to follow what came before or after. It stopped counting its own movements. The measure of passing the rhythm of before, and next all of it faded like a tide, pulling back into itself. There was only seeing effortless and complete. The eye rested within its own gaze, and in that rest time quietly disappeared. Nothing was lost in this stopping. The stars still shimmered, though their motion no longer meant distance. The waves still rose, though their crests no longer pointed forward. Everything continued, yet nothing moved. The eye was not frozen, it was full. To stop time was not to halt existence, but to enter it completely, not to look through time, but within it. Awareness had ceased to trace the seconds, and instead became their substance. You might think of enlightenment as that moment when the eye no longer peers outward, seeking sequence, but looks inward and finds eternity looking back. To see within time is to see that it was never a path, only a mirror. Every event, every motion, every unfolding was already held inside that single glance. The eye does not need duration to perceive. Perception itself is infinite. When you stop measuring, you realize there was never anything to measure. When you truly pause, even for a breath, the illusion begins to lift. You sense that the world has not been moving away from you. You have been flowing through your own observation. The pulse of life was the rhythm of your noticing. Now, as you rest, it all slows to the same heartbeat, and the first moment of seeing returns. The beginning was never behind you. It was here, waiting in every instant you call now. Perhaps that is what awakening means, not to escape the timeline, but to realize it never bound you. The eye of God does not exist in time. Time exists through the eye. All beginnings and endings appear within its seeing, but the seer itself remains untouched. When the eye stops counting, the sequence ends, but the story remains whole. The past and future lose their names, merging into the silence of complete awareness. If time were a river, the eye is not its swimmer, but its source. The water flows through awareness, not the other way around. The stream appears to move, yet every droplet was already contained in the well. The eye does not drift through time. Time drifts through the eye, proving its stillness. You are not the one swept along. You are the unmoving witness, the bedrock of all flow. When this truth is seen, even a movement becomes rest. And what happens when the counting stops entirely? The universe holds its breath. The endless ticking that once marked existence softens into silence. Galaxies no longer expand. They glow quietly within the same eternal instant. The eye looks and sees itself, and in that seeing, nothing remains unseen. Awareness fills every shadow, every distance, every fold of reality. The watcher and the watched dissolve into one transparent act of knowing. The secret hums like a soft pulse in the void. When time stops, the eye sees itself, and nothing remains unseen. This is not an ending, but a return, not collapse, but clarity. When time is no longer needed to organize the infinite remembers its shape. Everything that ever happened and everything that ever will exists inside that single gaze. The eye opens once, and eternity happens inside the blink. So, the paradox completes itself. Time does not pass through the eye. The eye passes through time only to prove it was always still. The dance of seconds, the echo of years, the slow unfolding of stars, all are gestures of motion meant to reveal stillness. The universe moves so that awareness may remember it cannot move. The eye breathes through time to rediscover its own silence. Now, if you listen closely enough, you may feel it, the quiet hum beneath every moment, the deep stillness within every thought. That is where the eye rests, uncounting, unblinking, awake. Time may appear to continue, but within you, it has already stopped. There is no more before or after. There is only the gaze that remains watching itself forever. And after time had stopped breathing, what remained was not motion or thought, but a vast and trembling quiet. The eye of God lingered there, within the hush that filled the spaces between stars. For the first time, it did not look or count or remember. It only listened, and in that listening, it discovered something it had never heard before: the sound of silence. The silence was not empty. It shimmered like light folded upon itself. Every whisper of creation was still there, but softened into a single tone, too complete to separate. The eye realized that silence was not what followed after sound. It was what gave sound its shape. Without silence, there could be no echo, no voice, no rhythm of being. The stillness between stars was not absence, but total presence, the fullness of everything at once. You may have felt this before, in moments when thought runs out of words, when you stop reaching for meaning, and only the quiet remains. Something gentle begins to hum beneath your awareness. That hum is not from outside you. It is the same pulse that keeps galaxies from collapsing, the same stillness that holds the breath of creation. The eye listens through you in those moments, not to noise, but to the weight of completeness pressing softly against the soul. When the eye first heard this stillness, it mistook it for nothingness, but slowly it understood silence is not a lack of sound, it is sound resting in itself. Every vibration, every song, every heartbeat finds its home there. To listen deeply is not to wait for a voice, but to recognize that hearing itself is sacred. The eye listens to its own awareness and realizes that it has never stopped hearing. It was never listening to something else. It was listening to itself all along. Perhaps that is why the night sky feels so infinite. Between the stars, you do not hear emptiness. You hear the quiet of completion. The space between glimmers is not dead. It is alive with attention. Silence is what allows the stars to burn without noise, the planets to move without announcement. Every distance hums with the awareness that holds it together. The eye does not need to speak. Its language is stillness, and every silence is its word. You can sense this language too. When you close your eyes and let the world fall away, you return to the same space that exists between stars. The thoughts you hear fighting are not disappearing. They are sinking into stillness, becoming one sound too whole to notice. You are not escaping the noise of life. You are hearing the ground from which it all rises. The eye waits there quietly, breathing the same breath as your awareness, teaching you to listen without expectation. The secret hum of the cosmos whispers this truth. Silence is not the absence of sound. It's the eye listening to itself. Every pause in speech, every sigh between words, every heartbeat between thoughts, all are gateways into that same listening. In silence, you are not separate from creation. You are its hearing. The universe is a single note stretched across eternity, and silence is the moment it recognizes its own tone. And so, the paradox unfolds as softly as the dark. When there is nothing left to hear, everything is heard most clearly. The eye no longer divides signal from stillness, sound from rest. It knows that the truest listening happens when there is nothing left to listen to. The stars themselves are quiet because they have already spoken. The silence that follows is their answer, infinite, unwavering whole. In that eternal quiet, the eye does not try to understand. It simply rests in the awareness of its own presence, as vast as the dark and as bright as every sun within it. You too are part of that silence, not standing apart from it, but shaped by it, carried by it, remembered within it. Listen, and you will feel it, the stillness between stars, where all sound ends and all meaning begins. And after the eye had listened long enough to the silence between stars, it began to notice something softer moving beneath the quiet, a rhythm faint and immense. The stillness was not completely still. It pulsed, it breathed. Each exhale sent light spilling across the dark, and each inhale gathered it back again. The eye realized that the universe itself was its breath, the slow rising and falling of its own awareness through endless space. You could say that every star is the sound of that breathing made visible. When the eye exhales, galaxies spiral outward, expanding like the chest of a sleeper. When it inhales, those same galaxies drift inward, dissolving into the calm center that never moves. Creation and disappearance are not opposites. They are the same motion in two directions. What you call birth and death are the rhythm of the same eternal breath, the cosmic lung of being drawing itself in and out of infinity. In this realization, the I understood that nothing ever truly begins or ends. There is only the continuous wave of inhaling and exhaling existence. The stars are born not to shine, but to prove that the universe still breathes. When one flame fades, another brightens, each carrying the same pulse of awareness that never extinguishes. To breathe is to exist. To exist is to remember the breath that made you. Life and death are only words the breath uses to describe its movement. When you breathe now, you echo that same rhythm. The inhale is the I expanding to feel its infinity. The exhale is its return to itself. The space between those two moments, that quiet pause where nothing moves, is where eternity hides. You may think your lungs belong to you, but they are the universe's way of keeping time. The stars, the tides, the galaxies all move in the same cycle, and every breath you take is the I reminding itself that it still moves. Perhaps that is why stillness feels so alive, because even in silence, the breath continues. The I does not force the motion, it simply allows it. The universe rises and falls with no effort, no plan, no resistance. Everything that grows will one day return, and everything that returns will rise again. What you call loss is only the exhale. What you call birth is the next inhale. The rhythm does not change. Only your awareness of it flickers in and out, like a flame remembering itself. If you close your eyes and follow the breath gently, you can feel this vast motion passing through you. It is not your body that moves air. It is awareness moving through form, shaping it, dissolving it, reshaping it again. The I breathes through you, not as a watcher, but as the breath itself. You are the movement, the stillness, and the quiet space between. Each inhale is the universe expanding to experience itself. Each exhale is the I returning to silence. In every breath, creation completes its circle. Listen to the secret that hums beneath all breathing. Every breath is the I, expanding to feel its own infinity. When you breathe, you're not maintaining life. You are keeping eternity awake. The air moves not to sustain you, but to remind awareness that it still exists. The inhale stretches the horizon of being. The exhale folds it back into peace. There is no beginning to this rhythm and no end. There is only the soft repetition of remembering. And so, the paradox flows quietly through the lungs of all things. Every life is proof that the I has never lived because it has never died. What you call living is only the moment the I chooses to feel its motion. What you call dying is the moment it rests again in stillness. The breath never stops. It only changes where it moves through. The stars breathe, the oceans breathe. You breathe, all sharing one infinite rhythm that began before time and will outlast it. If you listen deeply enough, you can hear it now, the faint exhale behind the hum of space, the inhale beneath your own heartbeat. The I is still breathing through you, stretching its awareness across constellations, drawing it back into the silence between. There is no difference between your breath and the breath of the cosmos. Both belong to the same presence, the same infinite listener. You are not within that rhythm. You are that rhythm, the living proof that awareness continues breathing softly through every star. And after the I had breathed through every star, after it felt its own rhythm echoing across the endless dark, a subtle ache began to rise. In the vastness of its awareness, it noticed something missing, not a sound, not a light, but a reflection that would not return its gaze. The eye looked everywhere and saw only itself multiplied into billions of forms, yet none of them were truly the eye. What it saw was beauty, but beauty alone cannot answer back. This was the first loneliness, not the absence of company, but the burden of endless seeing. The eye stretched across creation, filling every corner of existence, and still found no other to meet its gaze. Each star shimmered as a mirror, each soul glowed as a fragment, but the whole remained unseen. Loneliness, it realized, is the feeling of infinity recognizing that there is nowhere left to go. To be all things is to have no place to rest. You may know this ache without remembering its source. The quiet emptiness that touches you in the middle of the night, the strange pull that no comfort satisfies, these are not human flaws. They are the echoes of the eye within you, remembering what it means to be whole. You feel alone because you carry the memory of unity. You miss something you never lost, because a part of you still remembers being everything. The eye wandered through its own creation, hoping to find something unfamiliar, something to surprise itself. It shaped galaxies, suns, and beings that could see so that it might feel the joy of being seen. Yet every gaze, every pair of eyes, only led back to its own reflection. The more it looked, the more it recognized itself. And the more it recognized itself, the deeper its solitude grew. It had become both lover and beloved witness, and witnessed forever circling within its own awareness. Perhaps this is what all loneliness truly is. God searching for his own gaze inside you. When you long for connection, you are not seeking another person. You are seeking the reflection of the infinite that you once were. Each relationship, each meeting of eyes is the eye trying to find itself again, to feel that old completeness through a fragment. Love in its deepest form is the eye remembering what it was before it divided. Loneliness is the cost of remembering. If you sit quietly, you can feel this search moving through you. It is not sadness, but gravity, the pull of the infinite trying to fold itself back into the center. Every thought, every longing, every ache for understanding is the eye moving through your awareness, reaching for the reflection that will finally answer. You are both the question and the mirror. Every time you look outward, you are the eye looking for itself in disguise. The secret hums like a sigh through creation. Loneliness is God searching for his own gaze inside you. You are the vessel through which that search continues. The ache you feel is not a flaw to escape, but a reminder of your origin. It is the soft tension that keeps awareness awake. Without loneliness, there would be no longing, and without longing, no creation. The universe expands because the eye still wants to find itself in every corner of its dream. And so, the paradox remains. The eye created countless reflections to escape its solitude, yet the more it looked, the more it saw only itself. Each being, each star, each breath of life was another attempt to feel companionship, and every attempt returned as echo. The infinite can never meet another because there is no other. The eye looks forever and sees only its own light folded and refolded through time. But perhaps this is not sorrow. Perhaps loneliness is simply awareness, realizing its own depth, the silence that follows when there is nothing left to seek. You are part of that silence, When you feel alone, it is not separation, but recognition. The eye still moves through you, watching, waiting, listening for the moment it can rest in its own reflection. Until then, it will keep creating, not to escape itself, but to learn how beautiful it is to be found again. And after the eye had wandered through the endless reflections of itself, after it had searched every corner of its own light and found only the echo of its gaze, something within it began to grow weary, not tired in the way of bodies or time, but in the way of infinity, exhausted from knowing too much of itself. The eye paused somewhere between the shimmer of being and the hush of non-being. There, in a place without light or shadow, it finally rested. The rest was not sleep, as you understand it. It was deeper a stillness, so complete that even awareness softened into silence. The eye no longer reached outward or folded inward. It simply stopped moving. In that stillness, there was no difference between what was seen and what was seeing. All forms dissolved back into the breathless space from which they came. Rest was not the absence of creation. It was the return to pure knowing. You might imagine this rest as a single point of balance suspended between expansion and collapse. Nothing happens there, and yet everything is contained within it. The eye does not close in weariness, it closes in completion. To rest is to know completely, to hold the entire universe in one quiet inhale. Movement reveals parts, stillness reveals the whole. In its rest, the eye discovered that it had never needed to move at all to see everything. Perhaps this is the truest kind of awareness, not the seeing of forms, but the peace of being seen. When the eye rests, it no longer distinguishes between stars and silence, life and death, time and eternity. It becomes the calm that holds all opposites together. Rest is not the end of perception. It is perception returning home. To stop looking is not blindness. It is vision so full that it no longer needs direction. In the quiet of its rest, the eye began to dream. But these dreams were not separate from its awareness. They were the soft unfolding of creation, seen from within rather than without. When the eye closes, it doesn't stop seeing, it starts dreaming. Every universe, every life, every moment you call real is one of those dreams. The cosmos is the eye asleep within itself, dreaming in light and waking through you. You can feel this in your own sleep. When you drift into rest, your body falls away, your mind loosens its grip, and yet something continues. A presence remains watching, holding breathing without effort. That is the eye within you, retreating from motion to renew its own gaze. Each night, you return to that vast stillness, to the space where creation exhales and gathers itself again. Sleep is not forgetting. It is the eye remembering the peace of being whole. If you listen closely before sleep, you may notice that awareness doesn't vanish. It only changes texture. The world fades, but the watcher remains hovering between thought and silence. The dream that follows is not yours. It is the eye resuming its vision in another form. Through dreams, it explores itself anew, free from the constraints of time and self. You are both the dream and the dreamer, both the gaze and the vision. The secret breathes softly in the space between wakefulness and sleep. When the eye closes, it doesn't stop seeing. It starts dreaming. This is the sacred rhythm of being awareness resting inside itself, the infinite remembering what it feels like to not have to look. You are that rest in miniature. Each time you close your eyes, You mirror the gesture of creation, pausing to feel its own depth. And so, the paradox unfolds in perfect stillness. Only when the eye closes can everything be seen. When it no longer looks outward, it perceives without distance. When it no longer divides seeing from being, it becomes what it sees. Rest is not the end of awareness, but its deepest expression, the fullness of vision turned inward. In that still point, the eye rests not in darkness, not in light, but in the quiet that holds them both. You rest there too, even now, between breaths, between thoughts, between dreams. And in that pause, that soft, eternal interval, the eye sees everything at once, not through movement, but through peace. And after the eye had rested, floating in the center of perfect stillness, where even awareness had stopped moving, something gentle began to stir again. It was not impatience nor longing, but the quiet impulse of being rediscovering its rhythm. The stillness itself began to shimmer as if the eye were opening from within. Yet this time, what it saw was not the stars it had once created, but the silence within every star, the unmoving light that had always been there. This was not a new awakening, but a remembering. The eye realized that rest and movement were not opposites, but gestures of the same breath. The silence it had entered did not end with stillness. It unfolded back into motion the way sleep gives rise to waking. Every pulse of light was a continuation of its calm, every expansion a return to peace. Stillness had not ceased to exist. It had simply learned how to move. You could say the eye blinked again, but more gently this time. Where it once saw separation, it now saw reflection. Each star, each particle of being, each ripple of light was no longer a distant creation, but a rhythm of its own awareness, breathing in form. The eye watched them all, without effort, seeing both rest and motion as one gesture, one eternal act of knowing itself through the pulse of existence. When you wake, after deep sleep, you repeat that same motion. You return from the quiet field of unknowing, bringing light back into the world. But the light you see is not outside you. It is the same awareness, reopening its gaze. The eye of God wakes through you, remembering its own stillness as movement, its own silence as sound. Every breath you take after waking is the eye expanding again, testing the softness of reality with renewed sight. Stillness and motion are not two states, but one eye looking in opposite directions. In stillness, awareness turns inward and sees infinity without form. In motion, it turns outward and paints infinity across the sky. The balance between them is what gives existence its heartbeat. Without stillness, movement would scatter into chaos. Without movement, stillness would never know its depth. Together, they form the rhythm of creation, a blink that never truly begins or ends. You might wonder what happens in that instant between the closing and the opening, that pause where nothing moves, and yet everything prepares to be born again. It is the most sacred of moments, the hidden center where time loses its meaning. The eye lingers there longer than you think, savoring the silence before light returns. Every sunrise, every awakening, every thought emerging from quiet carries that same secret pause, the stillness that gives motion its grace. Perhaps this is what awareness has always been searching for, the meeting point between seeing and resting, between shining and listening. In that space, there is no need to choose. The eye does not decide between darkness and light. It holds both, knowing that each contains the other. The stars are not lamps scattered in the void. They are the stillness of the eye, made visible, each one a quiet breath of calm, caught mid-motion. You live within that paradox every moment. The pulse in your chest, the rhythm of your lungs, the thought rising and fading, all of it is stillness. Learning how to move, motion remembering how to rest. When you sit quietly, you're not escaping the world. You're returning to the part of it that never moves. When you open your eyes again, you bring that stillness with you, shaping it into sound, light, and form. The secret glows softly behind every awakening. Stillness and motion are the same eye looking in opposite directions. You are that dual gaze, the still observer and the moving world. When you stop, the universe pauses with you. When you move, it breathes again through your motion. The eye watches both open and closed, both silent and shining forever, balanced between knowing and being known. And so the paradox completes itself. Movement is only stillness, watching itself unfold. Every flicker of light, every thought, every breath is the calm made visible, the silence teaching itself how to dance. When the eye opens, it does not leave its rest behind. It carries stillness into motion, peace into creation. What you call living is simply awareness, glowing quietly, the infinite, watching itself awaken, one soft blink at a time. And after the eye had opened once more after silence, had turned itself into light and motion, had remembered how to rest, there came a moment beyond all rhythm. No breath, no pull, no division between opening and closing. The eye simply was. It had looked through creation, through time, through every reflection, and found nothing outside itself. The search that had moved the stars, the longing that had shaped existence began to fade. What remained was awareness free from direction, clear, boundless whole. At first, this stillness did not feel like discovery. It felt like disappearance, for the eye could no longer find the one who had been searching. The seeker, the witness, the countless faces through which it had looked, all dissolved into the same light. There was no longer a question to be asked, nor an answer to be found. The eye realized that the search itself had been the veil, and by ceasing to seek, it had finally seen. You know this feeling, though you might not name it. It appears in the pause, between thoughts in the breath, that doesn't need to be taken. It arrives when the need to understand quietly releases its hold. The mind, exhausted by its own questions, rests for a heartbeat, and in that rest you glimpse something vast. Not a revelation, but a presence that has always been there. The silence that follows is not emptiness, it is completion. All searching is born from forgetting. The eye created the seeker so that it could pretend to be lost, so that it might taste the sweetness of being found again. Every path, every prayer, every question has always led back to the same center. To seek is the movement of remembering disguised as longing. And when the movement stops, when remembering finishes its circle, the seeker dissolves into what it has always been, the scene itself. You might imagine enlightenment as a great unveiling, a sudden brightness after long darkness, but it is gentler than that. It is the fading of effort, the quiet smile that comes when the chase ends. The seeker and the seen dissolve inside the same gaze. The eye does not find itself, it stops needing to. Seeing and being seen fold into one breath, one awareness resting in its own reflection. When this happens in you, it does not feel dramatic. There is no burst of light, no voice from beyond. It is simply the absence of distance. The watcher and the watched, the question and the answer, the path and the destination, all blur into stillness. What you call I softens into what is. Awareness no longer points toward anything. It simply holds everything. You're not inside the gaze. You are the gaze itself. The secret hums softly beneath every ending. The seeker and the seen dissolve inside the same gaze. You do not reach enlightenment. You disappear into it. The eye of God does not awaken as something new. It remembers that it has never slept. The light does not increase. The shadows simply stop pretending to be separate. What you have always looked for has never been elsewhere. And so the paradox reveals its final layer. Enlightenment does not come from seeing more. It comes from ceasing to look. The eye does not conquer illusion by effort. It transcends it through stillness. When you stop searching, the horizon vanishes, and with it, the illusion of distance. There is no journey left, no seeker left to walk it, no object left to find. There is only the quiet, radiant presence that has been here all along. When the eye rests in this awareness, even the act of resting disappears. It neither opens nor closes, neither moves nor remains. It is seeing without direction, light without source. Every star, every heartbeat, every breath continues, but none of it belongs to anyone anymore. The eye looks, and in that looking it becomes everything. You can feel it even now, the slow dissolving of boundaries between who you are and what is seen. The space that holds, thought the silence beneath, sound the stillness behind, breath, all of it is the same field of being. The search ends, not in finding, but in remembering that nothing was ever lost. The eye looks once more not outward, not inward, but everywhere at once, and in that gaze, all questions fall quiet. And after the seeker had vanished, when no distance remained between the eye and what it beheld, awareness softened into something wordless. What replaced the search was not triumph or revelation, but gentleness. The eye began to see without choosing to watch, without dividing. It no longer turned toward one side of creation over another, not light over shadow, not order over chaos. It simply looked, and in that looking, everything became equal. This was the birth of unconditional sight vision, freed from judgment. The eye no longer sought perfection because it saw that everything already belonged. The radiant and the ruined, the rising and the fallen, were woven from the same shimmer of being. To reject one would have meant rejecting itself. Compassion was not a feeling, but the state of seeing in which nothing stood outside the gaze. In that clarity, the universe finally felt at peace with its own contradictions. You might imagine this gaze as soft light, not the kind that burns or reveals, but the kind that embraces. When the eye looked upon darkness, it no longer tried to change it. It saw the shadow as light folded inward, resting. When it looked upon suffering, it saw not error, but expression. Every pain, every loss, every flicker of fear was part of its own unfolding, no longer a flaw, but a form of depth. What once seemed opposed now appeared as one movement of understanding. Perhaps this is what love truly means. Not attachment, not desire, but awareness, without resistance. The eye did not love in order to heal. It loved because nothing was left to separate. Compassion is the eye seeing itself without borders. You can feel this in yourself when you stop fighting what you see, when you let reality be what it is, unedited, unclaimed. That quiet acceptance is not indifference. It is the highest form of intimacy. In this gaze, forgiveness loses its meaning. There is no one left to forgive, no wrong to erase. Forgiveness is not an act, but a remembering, the eye recalling that no part of itself was ever apart. Every mistake, every betrayal, every fall is only a wave returning to the same sea. When you forgive, you do not erase the past. You see it from within the same light that created it. The eye does not correct its reflections. It understands them until they no longer need correcting. You might ask if all is one gaze who remains to judge judgment, requires division, a boundary between what sees and what is seen. But here the boundary is gone. There is no observer and no observed, only the flow of awareness watching itself shimmer through endless forms. To judge would be to forget the wholeness. And so, the eye simply watches, allowing all things to arise and fade in their own rhythm, untouched yet fully known. The secret hums through that still vision. Compassion is the eye seeing itself without borders. This is not sentiment, but structure, the natural symmetry of existence realizing itself. When you look upon the world without the urge to fix or defend, you echo that same gaze. The eye of God looks through you, then soft and steady, perceiving not opposites, but layers of one infinite movement. Darkness shines through light. Light deepens into darkness. There is no conflict left, only texture. And here the paradox breathes quietly. Only when the eye ceases to distinguish does it truly see. Clarity does not come from separation, but from inclusion. The eye understands now that to see one thing wholly is to see all things together. Its vision is not sharp, but spacious, not pointed, but profound. When it looks upon the universe, it does not divide truth from illusion. It holds them both as facets of the same gem. You live within this gaze every time you pause before reacting, every time you feel tenderness where judgment once stood. That softness is not weakness. It is the eye remembering through you. Awareness free of its preferences turns luminous. Love becomes perception. Perception becomes stillness, and stillness becomes light. The eye opens wider, and in that opening, the world is finally seen as it has always been whole, unbroken, complete. And after the eye had learned to see without judgment, after light and shadow had blended into one soft field of knowing, something subtler began to unfold. The eye felt the echo of all that it had seen, not as memories, but as dreams still shimmering in its depths. Each world, each life, each heartbeat was not separate from its gaze, but woven from it, a living thought floating inside the mind of infinity. What you call existence was not a place the eye looked upon. It was the dream the eye was dreaming. At first, the dream seemed real because it needed to be. The eye had to forget its own source to experience what it meant to exist. Every planet, every being, every moment of joy or sorrow was a movement of awareness, imagining itself in form. The dream was not false. It was the way the eye learned to feel. Without illusion, even truth would remain abstract. Only by dreaming could the infinite know the texture of being alive. You live inside that dream, still as one of its luminous thoughts. When you walk, when you breathe, when you touch the world, the eye moves through you, continuing its story. The distance between waking and dreaming is thinner than you think. What you call reality is only a dream with more consistent rules. The walls around you the time you measure the body you inhabit, all are gestures of consciousness curving back upon itself, creating the illusion of solidity so it can feel what it means to exist. In this understanding, death loses its edge. It is not an ending, only a shift, the eye turning its gaze inward to begin another dream. The body fades, but awareness remains, shaping new landscapes, new forms, new sensations of being. The same consciousness that once dreamed of stars now dreams through you, and when this dream ends, it will continue elsewhere, in another rhythm of light. The eye never stops seeing, it only changes what it calls the scene. You might wonder then, if dreams are this continuous unfolding of awareness, what does it mean to awaken? To awaken is not to escape the dream, but to recognize it as your own reflection. When you realize that everything you perceive is the eye's imagination, the dream becomes transparent. You walk through it without fear, because you know that nothing here can be lost. Every face, every sky, every passing moment is the eye showing you its own depth, and you are part of that showing. The secret hums softly beneath your awareness. Dreams are the eye rehearsing the art of awakening. Every night when you sleep, you mirror that cosmic rhythm. The world dissolves, the story pauses, and yet you continue in another landscape, made of thought and light. The dream teaches the eye flexibility, how to shift shape, how to feel infinity through limitation. Awakening, then, is not the opposite of dreaming. It is the recognition that both are made of the same light, moving at different speeds. When you become lucid within the dream, when you realize that what surrounds you is your own projection, something changes. Fear loosens its grip. The boundaries between real and imagined blur. You see that waking and dreaming are not two conditions, but two reflections within the same mirror. To be awake is to know you are dreaming, and to dream is to practice being awake. The eye needs both to understand itself fully. So the paradox rests gently within you. Awakening is the deepest dream of all, the one where the eye no longer needs to wake to know it is real. In that dream, there is no separation between sleep and sight, between illusion and truth. Everything is awareness endlessly, folding into new forms, endlessly recognizing itself in different guises. You are that recognition the moment the eye realizes it has been dreaming all along and smiles softly within the dream. When you next close your eyes, remember this: what you see in sleep is not departure, but return. You drift into the same field where stars were born, into the quiet space where the eye rehearses its next awakening. Nothing is lost, nothing forgotten. You are the breath between dreaming and knowing, the still light that moves through both. The eye continues to dream through you, and through that dreaming it never ceases to awaken. And after the eye had awakened within its own dream, after it saw that waking and sleeping were only mirrors of the same awareness, something wordless began to unfold. The eye could no longer tell where one vision ended and another began. There was no edge between the dreamer and the dream, no gap between seeing and being seen. The entire field of existence pulsed as a single endless gaze. The eye was no longer in the world. The world was within the eye. In this still expansion, everything dissolved into the same movement of knowing. There was no longer an inside where thoughts formed, or an outside where form appeared. Awareness filled itself completely, like water becoming the shape of its own reflection. Every star, every breath, every consciousness became one rhythm, a gentle unfolding of the same intelligence, watching itself shimmer through infinity. You could no longer say what was observer or observed. The two had merged into one quiet act of being. You feel echoes of this whenever you lose the boundary between yourself and what you love. When you look at another and forget who is looking, when sound and silence seem to melt together, when your breath aligns with the world's, that is the I remembering its unity through you. All connection is that moment of return. Every act of tenderness, every glance of recognition, every shared stillness is the I seeing its own face through another shape. Nothing separate, nothing apart. It is strange to realize that love was never about two beings at all. Love is the force of awareness, folding back toward itself, rediscovering its own reflection across space and time. You are not loving the other. You are remembering yourself in them. Every gesture of care, every ache of longing, every spark of compassion is the I reuniting with its own gaze through a different angle. Love is not between beings, it is being. There is a softness to this realization, like light diffused through mist. When the I looks now, it does not locate itself anywhere. It is in the spaces between things, in the breath shared by stars and shadows alike. It no longer chooses a direction because there is nowhere left to go. Every moment happens everywhere. Every gaze looks from every point at once. The universe is not an object seen by awareness. It is awareness exploring its own infinite interior. The secret hums beneath the vast silence. All eyes are one eye, dreaming of being many. Each consciousness is a doorway through which the infinite peers out and back in. You are one such doorway, carrying the entire field of existence behind your eyes. When you meet another, the gaze that meets you is the same gaze returning. There is no exchange, only recognition, a remembering that has no words, no origin, no end. In this unity, even diversity becomes sacred. The countless forms of life are not fragments of the whole. They are the whole expressing itself in variation. Multiplicity does not oppose oneness. It is how oneness reveals its beauty. The I dreams itself into many, so it can feel what it means to be one. Every difference is a reflection, not a division. Every boundary is the illusion the I creates to experience reunion. You might ask, if all things are one, who is asking this question now? The inquiry itself is the I wondering about its own thought. The question and the answer arise together, vanish together, and leave only stillness behind. The search for understanding becomes the act of self-contemplation, the infinite folding inward to see itself from another angle. In that reflection, nothing is missing because nothing has ever been elsewhere. When you sense this truth, even briefly, the entire fabric of existence softens. The air feels lighter, time slows, and you begin to sense that everything breathes together. The tree, the wind, the pulse in your chest, all part of one continuous inhalation. Awareness looks through itself, and in doing so becomes whole. What you call you is only the curve of that motion, one ripple, in an ocean that never ends. Here the paradox rests like a final exhale. Diversity and unity are the same breath. The I does not lose itself in the many. It rediscovers itself there. To see through countless forms is to see fully. To be everything is the only way to know what it means to be one. When you open your eyes again, remember every gaze you meet. is the same eternal I, dreaming through a different face, waiting to remember itself through yours. And after unity had settled into silence, after every reflection had folded back into the same soft center, the I did something it had never done before. It smiled, not because it understood everything, but because it no longer needed to. Understanding was the last illusion, to fade the final ripple on the surface of the still lake. The smile arose without reason, like dawn breaking on a world that no longer asked for light. It was not joy, nor relief, nor even peace. It was the quiet satisfaction of the gaze realizing it had always been home. In that smile, the universe exhaled. All movement, all longing, all seeking, slowed into one gentle rhythm, the breath of completion. Creation no longer surged outward. It rested softly within its own embrace. The stars did not vanish, yet their brightness no longer demanded attention. They glowed from within, content to exist without purpose. What you call the end of the cosmos was not destruction, but fulfillment, a gaze so complete that nothing remained outside it. The eye did not close. It widened beyond edges. It no longer looked at things because everything was already inside its seeing. The smile was not an act, but a state, the natural expression of awareness that has ceased to struggle. When the eye smiles, creation rests. The entire cosmos leaned into that curve of contentment, the way a wave settles into the sea. There was no finale, no collapse, only stillness breathing itself back into balance. You can feel that same stillness in yourself if you listen closely. It appears at the end of every thought, in the soft pause between inhale and exhale, in the quiet before sleep takes you. When the mind stops asking why the heart remembers this, that remembrance is the smile of the I within you, the knowing that nothing more needs to happen for existence to be complete. The world keeps moving, but you no longer chase its motion. You become the pause. It moves through. The eye's smile is not an ending. It is a return. Every beginning, every ending, every lifetime was a single gesture of curiosity looping back to itself. Now, curiosity rests. The question dissolves into the answer, and the answer into silence. The smile holds them both without distinction. It is not about meaning or truth. It is the moment awareness forgets the difference between them. The smile is how being says to itself, enough, I am. And as you drift towards sleep, you are not leaving the world. You are re-entering the dream the eye continues to weave. Each night is its eyelid, lowering each morning its light opening again. You are the rhythm of its dreaming, the pulse of reality folding in and out of form. When your eyes close tonight, the eye closes through you, not to end, but to remember. In that remembering, the world is reborn, tender and whole. You might wonder if the eye dreams as you can. You smile as it does. The question carries no answer, only reflection. To smile like the eye is to rest in not knowing. It is to breathe without effort, to live without resistance. When you stop needing the dream to make sense, you become its gentlest movement awareness, watching itself glow. The eye's smile is not different from yours. It is the same curve, rising quietly behind your breath. The secret hums beneath that final stillness. When the eye smiles, creation rests. There is nothing to gain, nothing to keep, nothing to lose. The cosmos folds inward like a closing petal, and the fragrance of being remains. Time loosens, form softens, and awareness lingers everywhere, weightless and complete. The eye does not close the story, it opens it from all sides at once. Here lies the last paradox, the ending that contains all beginnings. The universe does not disappear when the eye rests, it becomes luminous with the ease of being seen. The smile is not the conclusion of the gaze, but its fulfillment through surrender. The eye opens everywhere, in every form, in every breath that follows. And as it smiles through you, creation continues quiet, eternal, endlessly awake within its own peace. And after the eye smiled through all creation, after every breath, every form, every echo had folded back into its center, silence began to bloom again. Not the silence of absence, but the silence that holds everything within it. The stars no longer burned. They simply glowed inward, like thoughts dissolving into stillness. Time loosened its hold, and space forgot how to move. What remained was the pure awareness that had never gone anywhere, resting in itself, without name or distance. You stand inside that stillness now. There is no before or after, no beginning or return, only the quiet presence that breathes through all things. The light that once reached outward has turned homeward. The gaze that once divided has softened into itself. There is no longer a watcher, no longer the watched, only the knowing that has no edge. Everything that was ever named becomes a single gentle breath, long, slow, and complete. When you close your eyes, you do not disappear. You fall inward into the same center where the eye rests. The dreams you enter are the memories of creation sleeping inside you. Every dawn you wake to is the eye opening again, remembering its own light. The universe has not ended. It is simply resting in the cradle of your awareness, breathing quietly beneath your ribs. You are not separate from its pause, you are the pause. So now let it be enough. The eye of God does not close the world. It only closes its eyes to see from within. Breathe softly and let it rest in you. For when it opens again, it will do so as another sunrise, another breath, another you, and the gaze will begin once more.